All right, we're back for another episode of Definitely the Experts, number 61. We're under a quarantine lockdown. You got Sam, you got Connor. Connor, what's going on, man?
What's up, Sam? Yeah, I think this was the end of week 3 of work from home. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that, so I don't go back and listen to very many of our podcasts, but I think that I'm definitely going to go back and listen to these ones because this is, I think, the only real record that I'm technically keeping of how I'm doing and what's going on in this day and age. And I think that I don't even know how long, a year, maybe a couple years, it'll be interesting to go back and just use this as a tool to remember what things were like around here and just in the world. I tell everybody that kind of asks me how I'm doing, I really haven't changed my lifestyle a whole lot. I feel like I'm a little less productive at work, but sort of as a result of everything just exploding right now in the workforce in general. However, I think that I generally still do the same kinds of things. I still wake up at a relatively okay time, and then I work, and then I go to the gym, and then I come home, and I try to work on at least one drum thing, and then I play video games until I'm supposed to go to bed. And so that, I realized was already somewhat of a social distancing lifestyle already that forced people to socialize with me through my Xbox. So altogether, it could be a lot worse. I feel like if this were when I was in college, this would probably be much more hellish for me. But now as a 25-year-old who doesn't necessarily like going out as much as I did 4 years ago, this is a piece of cake. It's not a piece of cake, but it's
Yeah, it's much more manageable than it would have been a few years ago.
My craving, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, I don't necessarily need to get out of the house and go, there's a bunch of people all over the place, in all these college houses where I see all these people still, hanging out in really tight, compact groups, and it's I can't even really be mad at you guys, because I know if I were living in Murd House in my senior year, I would be doing the exact same thing probably with all of you guys.
Dude,
we'd all just be hanging out.
We would drink so fucking much and just get I don't know. It'd probably be a lot of I don't
right between
of
the whole block of houses of all of the people that were living there. We would absolutely be those fucking stupid kids doing that.
We would fuck around and be not really. I don't know. What else are you supposed to do? You're just being dumb kids, but as a not living with 5 people now definitely helps not to want to go out and do dumb, silly things. But yeah, and I think I said this a couple weeks ago when this first thing broke. These episodes now are going to serve as a great time capsule. A couple years down the line, kind of cool that we're going to be able to have this to go back and listen to these things and see where we were at. Provide a nice bit of perspective once we're all done and all this whole coronavirus pandemic is over and done with, and we're coming out on the other side here. But I'm the same way. My whole lifestyle hasn't really changed. It's changed even less than yours, because I'm still actually going to work, just only because there's only one other person there. So I am still very much social distancing, but it's just I'm still in the same. I'm maintaining that same routine of getting up, showering, going to work, working, getting a workout in or whatever, and then coming home. And actually, it's been nice the last couple of days since the weather's turned a little bit here. Got back out to the park, putting up a bunch of threes, working on my wet jumper. So,
my
jumper's going to be so fucking wet this summer. I can't wait.
I downloaded NBA 2K20 from Game Pass.
Yeah, how is it?
I don't know. I've really never played like a 2K game extensively before ever, and so like it's a lot easier to learn how to play. Like you gotta like learn how to do all the moves and stuff, which are, it is what it is. It's just kind of like getting used to it, but it is like I think like a lot easier to pick up and play casually than it is to like pick up and play like Madden casually.
Yeah, probably.
Like you kind of just have to make sure you have like, I don't know, you select like some all-star team, like 2010 Boston Celtics or 2017 Golden State Warriors.
Let me get the 94 Bulls, yeah.
Yeah, you just go out there, pick one of those, and then it's like, all right, great. Well, everybody can pretty much do everything on this team. So, or just pass the ball, to Michael Jordan. Wet from everywhere.
Yeah, that's one thing. I don't think I told you about this, but my old cop, my antiquated, all my gaming is very much antiquated. I was old NBA 2005 game, and so it was like, I think it was like a week or so after Kobe died. I was like, man, I'm just gonna fuck around and do this. I'm gonna pop that in, play as the Lakers, and I'm just gonna put all right, get the ball, pass to Kobe, shoot. And just have him be the only person to attempt a field goal for an entire game.
The 81-point game.
Yeah. Yep, try to recreate that. I didn't do it. I lost. I was playing on expert mode, though, so...
All these people who didn't give a shit about Kobe.
Yeah, and that was my big purchase last Friday, I think, on the show. I bought 2005 NCAA football. So that came this week. And playing that a little bit, and it's kind of cool. It's immersive. It's so, because I've played so much fucking Madden 08, but as soon as I put this game in, and it's like a couple years older, but it's still EA made it, so it should be pretty similar, and it is, but it also isn't, because I'm dog shit at it.
Ooh.
So get to relearn how to play football sim games. From that are 16 years old.
Well, speaking of video games, I tried out Train Sim Pro 2020 this afternoon while I was eating lunch.
Oh, okay. You did do that this afternoon. I didn't watch you on the stream, but sometime this weekend you're gonna have to do that again for me.
Yeah, I'll definitely hook you up. I think you can view my stream. It's probably going to be really shitty because it was an hour of, like, I couldn't figure out how to make the train go again. Like, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, they ran me through how to get the Long Island whatever train.
Long Island Railroad?
Yeah, to, like, go. And it was, like, fairly simple, but then I let all the passengers aboard, and then I was sitting in the chair, and I was like, all right, full speed ahead, and I cranked the power all the way up, and the train just like didn't move.
Did you have your dynamic brakes set?
Yeah, I charged my brakes up. And
did you have it in park?
I don't know what it was. I ended up having to restart it, and then it might have been a bug. I ran through the whole like list of things to do over, and it still didn't work. So I restarted the thing, and it worked on the second time. But then I blew past the stop, so I had to emergency brake the train and back it up.
You had to pull that. You had to hit the e-brake and.
Yeah, I pulled the lever that was on the top, and I honked the horn, the whistle. To let everybody know.
Yeah, can you change can you throw the switches on there on the track?
I don't know if you can do that. I haven't done that, but you can get out of the train. Like one time the train was going and I like got up out of my seat and I left the engineer's chair and I went and sat in the passengers thing for a little while, and that's how the train blew past a stop. And I was like, "Oh fuck! I gotta stop the train."
Oh, I'm surprised on there that like, how long were you back there for a little while with mingling with your passengers?
No, it was only like a couple minutes, but I didn't have to go very far. It was like the next stop for this commuter train, so it was like I turned it up to max power, so this train was going like 70 miles an hour, and it was like way too fast.
We're going for somewhere. I'm surprised they don't have the dead man switch on there.
They do have it on there. You can use it.
Wait, so because the way that's supposed to work is if you're sitting there, if the engineer dies,
Yeah.
or is incapacitated, you gotta hit that button every like minute or two or something, and then if you don't, then it just automatically stops.
Yeah, it wasn't like a far stop. It was like
Okay.
500 meters.
Oh, well, wait, where was this train? Were you in the States on Long Island or somewhere else?
I think it was in Long Island. I think it's.
Why are they measuring it in meters?
I don't know. I don't know,
What the
Sam.
fuck does that even mean?
It has many international railways on the game as well, so maybe they just standardized everything.
Oh, I think it's developed in Europe. So
Okay.
that would make sense. What other trains you got on there? Can you do any? I know there's probably got some European passenger stuff. You got any heavy haul North American freight?
Well, let me go ahead and just pull this up here. Train Sim 2020.
A couple years ago, I definitely watched some people stream Train Sim for probably longer than I should have.
There's a big like community
Oh yeah.
around it. Here we go. All right, I've got this is the latest routes here. The Nuremberg and Regensburg, Bonn.
Somewhere in Germany.
Yeah. The Chengkun Railway, Hanwan, Pujiang. It's in China, I think. Yeah. Southwestern Main Line, Southampton, Bournemouth. Oh, it's London. Okay. Let me see if I get any United States rail here. Steam. All right, what do we have? Promontory Summit. Oh, it's this
That's
looks
Utah,
like this
right?
is an old one. In all of American railroading's long history, no event was greater or more enthralling than the completion of the Transcontinental
Yeah.
Railroad in 1869. Yeah, this is like an old-timey railroad train thing.
Yeah, that's when they first built the Transcontinental Railroad in when they were building from Omaha west, and there's I think San Francisco east. They met in Utah, Promontory
Okay.
Point.
How about Bessemer and Lake Erie? That route.
I don't know. It sounds like East Coast.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that CSX or
How about-
NS?
How about Diesel here? Diesel. All right. Yeah, there's a lot of international routes here. Locos. Maybe that's the one that I want to click on here. Do you know your trains?
No, not as well as I know my track. But
Not
go
as
ahead.
well as I know my track. All right, the first one here, the LMS Stanier Class 8F.
I don't know that one.
All right, very cool.
Is that American or not?
I think it is. Let me see here. Despite their huge numbers, only 14 LMS Stanier Class 8F survived into preservation. Oh, nope, it's UK. All right. How about the UPRR Idaho and Omaha?
Idaho and Omaha. I know UPRR. That'd be the Union Pacific.
Oh. Yeah, this
They're
looks
very
like an
much-
old-timey railroad, too, off the fucking Polar Express.
Oh. Idaho and Pacific?
Idaho and Omaha.
Omaha.
Smokebox brings to Train Simulator two more classic 440 quote-unquote Americans. Union Pacific sister locomotives number 7, the Omaha, and number 8, the Idaho.
Oh, these are very old. Very cool.
Yeah.
What else you got?
These are more British and Scottish rails.
How about something
here.
from the last 100 years, maybe?
Electric. These all have umlauts over their O's, so I assume those are German, Austrian. How about diesel? Well, that's do you know Canadian?
Yeah, I know Canada.
Canadian National SD70.
Yeah, SD70. That's a pretty common diesel locomotive these days. The SD40s, SD50s, 60s, 70s. Those are all things.
Oh, here we go. I got one. The PRR DR64 2000 and Broadway Limited. The
DR6,
Pennsylvania Railroad.
DR6. What was the number? 4,000.
Yeah, of PRR DR64 2000.
Pennsylvania Railroad.
It's the
DR6.
PRR Distinctive Baldwin DR64 2000. Passenger Shark.
Oh, that's kind of neat. I don't know that one too well.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I don't know my locomotives all that well. I know some of the more famous ones, but I don't know that I know all of these.
Well, I'm gonna play this train sim. I'm gonna really get my locomotive knowledge.
Can you like get? Yeah, can you get like? Do you get like a score?
Yeah, you get a score for like if you maintain like the correct speed that you're supposed to be taking the train at, and then you like if you stop at like the correct spot that you're supposed to stop.
Okay,
That was
yeah,
what
that's
I did with
thought.
this like tutorial thing. But I think that it gets like much more like with some of these trains where you have to like um yeah, I don't think it's all like commuter trains. So I think there's some that are like hauling stuff and you got to like stop and like make sure you're like going on the right route or something or I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of maintenance stuff that is in the cab there that I'm not totally integrated with here because I don't know anything about trains.
Yeah.
So it's like the maintenance stuff you have to do on the way to a destination is like probably a lot more with like some of these trains. I gotta shovel the coal into the train,
yeah,
and no, I didn't have to do that.
Oh, that'd be a good one if you get like train sim a VR version of it, so you actually have to like hunch down and shovel with the headset on.
Yeah, I'm excited to. Well, so yeah, it was. There's a lot more. I didn't know what it was going to be, to be honest. I downloaded it completely as a joke, and it like seems like it actually is like somewhat like from what I read on Reddit and like the game itself, like it seems like it replicates it fairly okay for like what a conductor actually does.
Yeah, I think it's pretty. I don't know, just the little bit I've seen of it. I think it's pretty. I don't know, decent representation of. It does what it says it is. It's a train simulator.
Yeah, which is
The
kind of
graphics
cool.
Are kind of fun. The thing I thought I had like an old copy of it many years ago for the PC. And
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell had happened to it or where that disc went, but I don't have it anymore. I think my favorite thing to do is so basically like the whole premise of the game, the way you're supposed to do it is what you're supposed to do in G2 or what you end up doing in Grand Theft Auto when you get bored. It's like, you know what? I'm just gonna follow the rules and drive around like a normal person.
But that's what you start out doing.
That flips the whole game on its head, and the train sim is, hey, that's what you're actually supposed to do is just be a like normal person here.
Be a functioning member of society.
So, but when you get bored of that, then what you do is you just you hit full throttle, and then and I remember being able to like flip the switches so you could change where you actually go, and like I don't know, get on the wrong track and just crash the shit out of your train.
Yeah.
So we'll have to try and do that. Speaking of crashing your train on purpose, so the USNS Mercy, the hospital ship that docked in LA to support coronavirus medical response, some guy who's an operator, an engineer for the Long Island Port or the Port of Los Angeles. There's a short line railroad that operates Port of Long Beach and Port of Los Angeles. He was a little suspicious of what the government's up to with this whole coronavirus thing, so he wanted to send a message. So he purposely derailed his locomotive and tried to attack the ship, unsuccessfully. So that was a headline that I saw yesterday. Or an article I saw in the news yesterday. I was like, what the hell is this? Charged with one count of felony train wrecking. So
Yeah.
you can maybe you'll go to jail in train sim too.
We can be charged with train wrecking.
I don't know, that train wrecking as a crime just sounds very piratey.
It definitely sounds old timey. It sounds like it's most definitely like a holdover from like the 1800s.
Yeah, when they first invented these things. And,
Train
I was
wrecking.
thinking, like, when's another time, I don't know, ever that someone has intentionally derailed a train? There's been I know there's an instance of sabotage where someone not on the train, does something to the track in order to derail a train. That's happened. Not often, but it has happened in the past. Other than that, these are usually not intentional things, but this one was, because this guy was suspicious of what's really going on with this coronavirus thing.
So he tried to crash the train.
I just wanted to send a message, but I don't know.
However, that's related in a person's mind to the coronavirus pandemic, excuse me.
Yeah, you use the tools that you have at your disposal, and he had a
train.
If I was going to attack a naval ship, a very, very, very large ship, my weapon of choice is not a locomotive.
No, it's not a very pragmatic weapon. But I don't know, man. Yeah. So anyway, trains. Look for Train Sim 2020 streaming here. Somewhat. So, in a more grisly note, there was a double homicide in Madison, over by the Arboretum, and so I can't remember if I told you this story. I feel like I've told it to several people, but a few days before this happened, I went on a run.
Oh, back in the Arboretum there, which is not far from where you live.
Correct. Yes, so I went on a jog, and it was pretty late. It was like probably, I don't know, it was not quite, I think the end of my run might have been like around this time. So it was like getting later. And I just needed to get out. It was quarantine, everything. I just needed to go on a little jog. And this route that I take into the Arboretum, it was like, it's kind of dark outside, but I'm only going 3 miles, and I only have to go a short distance into the Arboretum, and whatever, it's not going to be a big deal. I remember I have gone running before, and I have gone to the Arboretum before, but probably not since college. Like, I gone running in the Arboretum in the evening, and so I got into the Arboretum, and it was like, oh, geez, it's very dark in here. And I was like, whatever, not a lot of people, not a lot of cars out right now, so not a big deal. And so I'm jogging, and like every couple of little bit, like I can find like a person that's like wandering in the darkness, and it kind of scares me a little bit, but it's like, okay, somebody's just like walking in the Arboretum at night, whatever. And so then I round a corner, and I can kind of see something in the road, but I can't make out what it is. I can't tell if it's just more darkness or if there's actually something in the road until I get about 5 feet away, and then I see, oh, that's a car with its lights off in the middle of the road. And so I get closer, and the road's pretty narrow, so I'm pretty much right up against this car when I'm passing it, and its windows are down, and there's definitely people in there. And so I pass it, and it's like, okay, that was weird. And I noticed the car, when there's like cars that come on the road, they'll turn their lights back on, but then as soon as the car passes, they turn their lights off. And so I have to loop back around and go out of the Arboretum. So I do that, and I pass this car again, and I'm sort of looking at it, and it's these people, and I sort of smell some weed. I don't know if it's coming from their car or not, but it's like, okay, maybe they're like smoking or drinking or something in their car, and for some reason they chose to drive into the fucking Arboretum and park in the middle of the damn road. And so whatever. It was mostly, I felt irritated by it because it was like, this is a dangerous thing. Somebody can hit you. So I thought about saying something, but then it was like, better not. I better not. And so I get out of there, and I'm out of the Arboretum. I'm over by like St. Mary's over there, and I see in the middle of the street, there's just a person walking down the middle of the street, like directly in the middle of the street. And So I'm like, well, that's also weird. And I turn around because it's like maybe this person is like getting out of work or something, and they're just walking to their car or walking to a parking lot. And I turn around after I pass them, and it's like, nope, this dude's just walking down the middle of the street. There's no cars on the road on either side. So it was like, I remember I got back to the apartment and I was like, man, coronavirus is making people act so fucking weird. And then, yeah, a couple days later, I got the news that there was a fucking double homicide right there at the entrance to the Arboretum. And so that was just kind of freaky. And after doing some snooping and some news stuff came out today about it, so it was a doctor at the university here and her husband were both murdered. And the person was arrested today. It was the person who was dating that couple's daughter. He like straight up murdered her parents.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Like, holy shit.
Did they give a motive?
I have no idea, but I'm sure it's related there somehow.
Yeah. Huh. So you're not suggesting anyway that the goofy things that you saw the other night were related to that, right?
No, they were. I don't think so. But it was like weird shit that at the time I just felt like that was something that I would have just like taken a headphone out and been like, stop being a fucking idiot. And I'm glad that I didn't do that for either of those people, because somebody just straight cash money was killed at that spot. So I'm just going to let people be weird, I think, and do my best to stay out of their way, because the big Rona is making people murder people out here.
Yeah, and the Arboretum has got some putting out spooky vibes.
Yeah, straight up not leaving my house at night, probably for a little bit.
Yeah, I was just scrolling through the news today. I saw that headline, and I was like, oh, the Arboretum. Like, I started reading this thing like, oh, well, first of all, it was like UW-Madison doctor murdered. I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. Well, where did this happen? I figured this is in some, they're out doing some goodwill mission in some other country, in some foreign country. Like, oh no, this is Madison. Like, oh, that's not good. Well, where did this happen? In the Arboretum. It's like, well, what the fuck? I know where that is. And then not only is it in the Arboretum, it's the handful of times I've been in the Arboretum, it's right in the spot where I go in. Yeah,
right at the main entrance that you use.
Yeah. So, and I was like, well, when was this? Was this recent? Yeah, it was today. Or the headline was, the article was from today. So, I don't live down there anymore, but still, it's weird. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's weird to still, I mean, living down here, it still feels irregular because the crime down here just isn't anything crazy at all. Madison's a pretty tame city, so seeing a double homicide headline is certainly irregular.
Yeah, the other thing I read, that it's the first murder investigation under UWPD jurisdiction since like 1982. The first double homicide ever for the campus police. So
yeah,
to your point, yeah, it doesn't happen within UWPD jurisdiction.
Yeah, exactly. That I think I read the same thing there. Yeah, where it was just like an inordinate amount of time from the last time that this had happened. So
yeah, so everybody stay safe out there. Don't run in the Arboretum after dark.
Yeah, don't do that. So on a lighter note, I think today
switching gears.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to talk about some of our favorite Wisconsin sports games from when we were in college, because there's not a whole lot of stuff going on in sports news week to week here. I think the draft is coming up at the end of the month, which I think will be enough to get us through this month at least. There's plenty of, I mean, it's tough because I feel like everywhere I look, it's just mock draft after mock draft, and I'm just oversaturated with draft knowledge, right? Not knowledge, because I certainly don't pay attention to any of these articles, but maybe just an inordinate amount of it shoved in my face from various news sources about draft prospects. So I think that we can maybe get a little bit more serious about that, possibly starting next week, but more likely the week after that, when it's a week out from the actual NFL draft. So that's coming up for anybody who doesn't pay attention to that. Draft's coming up at the end of the month here.
Yeah, and to your point, that's kind of, free agency was great when it happened after basketball was canceled. To have free agency, and that gave us something, and having the draft a couple weeks away here, that's the proverbial carrot on the end of the stick, getting us through this no sports time right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can get into that next week or so and really talk prospies. But I don't know, listen to some other shows. Everyone, there's nothing to talk about, so I don't know. Fuck it, let's get nostalgic about sports stuff from our recent past here. So just a grab bag of top games from you and I were in school here. So I don't know if you got one you want to lead off with. Otherwise,
yeah, this is more of a joke one, but this is a memorable one because so this was for my senior year. This is the 2015 Wisconsin football season. 15-16 here, or I guess just 15 because their bowl game was on December 30th. They played Iowa at home on October 3rd. This game, I distinctly remember this game because I remember looking at the scoreboard during the fifth quarter and being like, what the fuck? They lost 6-10 that day to Iowa. Yeah, it was an 11 a.m. game, so it was just like a shitty game to begin with. For those of you that don't know, or maybe weren't in the marching band that listen to this, which probably isn't anybody, but for the 11 a.m. game, I think drumline, we had to wake up at, I don't actually remember, 4:30?
Yeah, 5-ish.
5, I think. And so waking up at 5, and we pretty much had to, depending on what your schedule was in the morning, I typically ate like a small breakfast, and then we went to the shed to eat bagels and play on the ground, run through the show, which was just always the worst because it sounded terrible. You can't actually tell if anybody knows their stuff. And but we need to do it because of a sound ordinance in the city. It was prohibited to actually play on drums before a certain time. So
before like 7 or something.
Yeah. So before actual full band rehearsal, we would hack around on the ground. And as it got colder and colder, it was super shitty to sit in that room when it was cold outside and just kind of freeze. So that, I remember it was just a like 11 a.m. game, so that's how that went. And it was, you had to wake up really early, you get super exhausted, and then you get done with the game, and you're at home by like 3:30, and you just pass out and wake up at like 8 or 9 o'clock, and you drink a lot sometimes.
Drink like it's going out of style.
Yeah. And so I remember this game just distinctly. This is one game that stood out to me because I just still have pretty vivid memories of being on the field during fifth quarter and like staring at the scoreboard for what felt like forever, because I just was in absolute disbelief that we just watched an entire football game where we only scored 6 points. And we obviously lost, but we only lost by 4 points.
Yeah, and that was when Joel Stave, didn't he fumble? Like they were going in, I think, take the lead at some point towards the end of that game, and he fumbles on an exchange or a handoff or something.
Yes.
Down on the goal line or near the goal line.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You and I fucking around during the fifth quarter with that.
Yeah, with running the plays.
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember from that game is just. That's it. That's all I recall.
Yeah, And I guess so. I'll follow it up with, because I think more of my vivid memories are from that season, because it was my last season. But I'll follow that up with a real one, because that really wasn't like a good one. The good one that I had from this season was, actually no. I'll go to you. I don't have a good one for my next one.
I'll counter your joke one with a joke one of my own. This was same year, 2015. We're gonna go to basketball, and it was the first game of the year, first regular season game of the year. This is coming off back-to-back Final Fours. Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker no longer part of the team, so those the two best players from those teams are gone, but still got a decent roster with the guys like Bronson Koenig. Nigel Hayes is still on the team. Khalil Iverson, Khalil Iverson, I guess. Zach Showalter's still on the team. So decent core. Probably not going to go to the Final Four, but you never know. So it's that first home game. You're raising the banner from being there the year before. Everyone's all excited about that. And we're playing Western Illinois, so should be able to beat the shit out of them. Nope. Lose that game 67-69. I was at it. It was... just such a huge letdown coming off from, because the pregame ceremony was all done up with, again, raising the banner, but expectations were decently high, and losing to a team that was not good. A team that went, what was their final record here? Western Illinois for the season went, Jesus Christ, 10-17. So last place in the Summit League, so a legitimately bad team in their conference, playing on the road, and this is at the Kohl Center, home game, and they beat a team that made a little bit of run in the tournament. So that was a vivid punch in the gut. Not a great way to start that year.
Yes, agreed. Well, I will.
Let's hit some good ones. Well, just a joke one, and you and I probably both have this one. The most very vivid memory was, we've talked about this, we've referenced this game a bunch, just the 2014 Big Ten Championship game for football.
In 2014, you said?
2014, yeah, 59-0, the Ohio State game.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've revisited this game several times for various reasons, and... yeah, I don't think I'll ever forget that game, just because it was by and far the worst possible loss that I will likely witness in my time as a Wisconsin sports fan. I guess in terms of worst, I'll say the baddest beat. And yeah, so it'll be hard to top a nearly 60-point loss shutout in anything, but we'll
right.
see. We'll see in the future. But what I was going to follow it up with, now this isn't really a good one either, because we lost to Northwestern in 2015, but I remember that game really vividly, mostly because it was my last game in Camp Randall with the marching band, but everything that happened that day was just so wild, because...
oh, okay, yeah.
It was snowing.
Yeah, I remember this now.
Yeah, so you weren't there.
I was not. I was in New York.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't there because of an alternate trip. And so as a result, like people like Sam and Tommy weren't there. And I can't remember who else went on that trip with you. But anyway, it might have been.
Oh,
I'm sure a lot of people
might have been on that or something.
Okay. Well,
whatever.
In any case, it snowed a whole bunch before this game, and it was snowing during the game, which created this really super, like, there are still tons of wallpapers and pictures from that game, and they get shared all the time between that one and the snow game at when Melvin Gordon broke all the records against Nebraska. Like, those are the two ones that there's a bunch of pictures out there of Camp Randall in the snow. And so anyway, I remember this game because the student section quickly found out that you could throw snowballs onto the field. And the band, through a good portion of the game, was just getting pelted with snowballs. And I remember standing there down on the field because the drum line has to obviously face outward and we can't turn around, and we have to play for pretty much the whole game in order to play cheers and whatnot. So I remember just being terrified that I was going to get pelted in the back of the head with a snowball. And I remember Patrick looking up at the fans. I'll go ahead and say that I'll paraphrase what he said so that you can't actually quote me. But he said something to the effect of, "You goddamn cocksuckers," and shook his fist over at the student section. And I remember it was so funny to me because this was also his last game in Camp Randall, and he was like revolted at the student behavior, and it was so funny to see him get so angry because he never ever got angry like that ever. So it was hilarious to see that. And so that between that and like the actual state of Camp Randall, like it was a really shitty game. And I remember because it was this, like, it ended on this really terrible no call pass interference on Jazz PV, and so we lost the game 7-13. And so that sucked to like lose the last game in Camp Randall, but I remember that game really vividly for a variety of reasons, and so it's obviously a memorable game for me. Not necessarily, I guess that's why I didn't want to put it necessarily, it's not necessarily a joke memorable game like the Iowa one, because I remember it for a lot of good things as well as weird things that happened, but certainly one of the more vivid football memories that I have.
All right, well, I'll pick one where they actually win. So I'll take the low-hanging fruit. Power rank the number one game of basketball, football of my college career, and that would be the 2015 national semifinal for basketball. Wisconsin, the 1 seed in the tournament, beats the then undefeated 38-0 Kentucky Wildcats. Beats them by it's a close game. Beat them by a 71-64. I honestly don't remember a whole ton about the actual game itself, but I just remember that just being such a big deal. Being back in the Final Four with a pretty much stacked team, being in the Final Four and beating the same team that had beaten them the year before. That Kentucky eliminated in 2014, and then to be able to get that, have a revenge game, and then also with everything going into that, with Kentucky being undefeated, and their roster being also stacked. Getting that win was probably just super cool. It's super cool. We were watching that, and then the whole town, whole city, it felt like, kind of went down State Street, and it was packed down there, and it was crazy. And we ended up hanging out at the Bone House afterwards with Loin and going on and chat roulette and talk to some dudes. Things got very weird that night, but
I remember that.
That was kind of an odd way to end it, but I don't know. That was a lot of fun. That whole night was a lot of fun. Just to obviously related, it would be the Duke game Monday night where they lost. Not obviously as good because they lost, but
right.
That was such a crazy. That was like a very vivid memory I have from going to class that day, and just everyone's wearing the red shit, and I felt like nobody. I certainly felt this way, but like didn't give it. It was just like whatever, prof. Let's get this shit over with so I can go home and watch basketball later tonight. It was just the energy on campus was palpable. It was pretty cool.
Oh, man. All right, so I will follow that up with a good. I was going to say the 2012 Big Ten Championship against Nebraska. That's another solid memory that I remember it being my first football game with the UW band, where I really felt like it was like I was having a ton of fun during the game. Like through most of the season, I think I I was still kind of getting used to being in the band and being with the university drumline and how it all worked, and it was very different from my high school band. But this game was the first one where it was like, holy shit, like this is so much fun to do. And it was when we beat Nebraska 70-31 in the Big Ten championship. And I remember it was just insane because it just felt like we couldn't stop scoring touchdowns over and over again. It felt like we had Monte Ball, who was going to be drafted early in the draft and go on to be like an NFL superstar. We had... who did we have on defense?
Kirk Phillips.
No, not... we did have Kurt Phillips, but that's not who I'm thinking of.
James White on that team, or on the Wildcat.
Oh, Travis Frederick. No, I don't remember it. Chris Borland. That was it. That was who it was. Chris Borland was wrecking people. And so anyway, that was probably the football game that I remember the most where we won. But what I was going to say, I was going to go with basketball. I was going to go with in the 2014-15 season with the Badgers' second run to the Final Four. They played, it was Arizona, I believe, in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, then the same team they played the Elite Eight the year before.
Yeah, and so I remember that game. So during the past year, I don't think, for some reason, I don't remember why, but I didn't get to like do the whole thing. There was like all these pictures of people that would run onto State Street. These people that would, like, after we won a game in the tournament where we went deep, all these people would run out to State Street, and State Street would just be like a wild place for a while for some reason. I don't know how this started, but it did. And so I remember after that game, I remember sitting in the Symbol Tower on Milton Street watching the game, and then when we won, everybody was just like, we have to go to State. And I remember running to State Street with all of my friends after we won that game, and it was crazy because there were people running from all over campus to State Street. So it was just this mass flocking that was so weird to see, and all these drunk people just running to State Street and then getting to State Street, and it was like, hell yeah. And there's all these people climbing on like light poles and police that are like, get the fuck down. And it was so funny. And so I remember that really vividly, just that particular game, because it was just so weird to everything that happened. And still to this day, it's like, I'm not even sure now with the Badgers, like they might have gone deep in the tournament this year, but we'll never know. But certainly the last couple of years, they've been booted in the first couple rounds or Sweet 16. So it's
there's no guarantee.
Interesting.
Who knows when it's going to happen again, because there's those 2 years, 2014, 2015, where they went back to back. Hadn't been to the Final Four since then. Before then, since 2000, and then before that, I don't know. Was it the 1940 whatever title team?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it doesn't happen often. So I mean, to have, again, back-to-back Final Four trips in, not that neither of us were at those games, but just to have that happen while we were in school is pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
But and just to piggyback on that 2012 Big Ten title game, again, another one I wasn't at. I was in high school, but I remember I wasn't home for the first, I don't know, the beginning of the game, and I got home and I was like, I gotta flip it on, see what's going on. I was like, boy, I hope it's close. And the thing with that game too, to remember, Badgers were not good that year.
Yeah.
Nebraska was a heavy favorite going into that game. I don't know what the spread was or anything, but just in my eye, Nebraska was a good team, and Wisconsin was only there because both Penn State and Ohio State were postseason ineligible.
Yes.
So the way that that game going the way it did was not expected. So when I got home and I flipped the TV on, and what's the score? And they're up by up by 30 or something. I'm like, oh, well, that's not what I expected. That's a nice surprise. And that was a lot of fun to watch on TV. So yeah, I can only imagine how much more insane that would have been to be there in person for that. So let's see. My next one, I'm going to go with 2016 Week 1 for football season. Badgers beat LSU at Lambeau.
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't know what the score was, but that was a pretty cool one. Another game where, it's a little different. LSU was ranked number 5 and Wisconsin was unranked. So it was a pretty big upset. It's a little different just because it's week 1, where those rankings are much, I don't know, they don't hold as much weight as they do later in the season. Where that 2012 Big Ten title game, you had a whole season of a full regular season to base your assumption of what was going to happen on. You had a sample size that was larger than 0.
Yeah.
But still, nonetheless, I mean, that game was pretty fun. It wasn't a great game, but it was an awesome way to start that season with playing in Lambeau, which is pretty cool. Playing a neutral site, playing a top 5 power SEC, legit SEC West contender, and beating them there, and the way they did it somewhat dramatically with that game-sealing interception at the end. That was a lot of fun. That was a fun trip. That was a fun way to start that season.
Yeah, it was a whole big storyline with Leonard Fournette going in there. Leonard Fournette was rolling the season before that, and so he was coming into the 2016 season. I think he was the consensus number 1 running back, the RB1 that was going off the draft board for the 2017 draft, that would be. Yeah. And so he ended up being RB1 for the 2017 draft, but it was a whole thing that there's no way Wisconsin was stopping Leonard Fournette. But we did. We did. So, and that was the third straight year that they were opening the season against a prestigious SEC West program. Played LSU 2 seasons before in Houston, and then the year before this LSU game was played Bama down in Dallas. So again, I don't know, another cool thing, they're playing scheduled some legit Power 5, not just Power 5 teams, but teams that are regularly competing for national titles in the SEC West. And it's so funny to think about that LSU team now. It's such a far cry from what they are now, just a couple years later. That team was very much offensively challenged. I think Les Miles is still the head coach, and they're running a pro style offense, I guess, but definitely offensive, not nearly as hip and modern as the offense they're running now with Joe Burrow, or we're running with Joe Burrow, and so that complete change in offense was interesting. I don't think they would have fared so well against that in 2016 if that would have been the case. Yes, I agree. So to follow that up, I have another basketball one, and this is probably my favorite basketball memory, but it was the 2015-2016 season, the NCAA tournament game against Xavier. So that was
Bronson Koenig game.
Yep, the Bronson Koenig buzzer beater for the win.
Fade away from the corner.
Yeah, so I was on this tournament trip. I went to this game, and it was really funny because the game before we played Pittsburgh, and the score was, we won that game obviously, but it was 47-43. And I remember that because I was like, goodness, that was some straight up, stock Big Ten basketball.
Big Ten rock fight, yep.
Yeah. And so going into the next game, we played Xavier, who I think was a 2 seed. And so we obviously weren't favored to win the game. And we went into it, and it was a tight game the entire time. It was very exciting. And so I remember sitting there in the behind the drum kit, and I remember the inbound to Bronson Koenig and him watching the ball, watching him just drain the shot, and the entire stadium just erupted. It was so crazy because it was just so damn loud. And I remember in that game that at some point we played Lion Sleeps Tonight, and Quail played tuba. He played the solo on the tuba, and I remember it was just I was like, goodness, why don't we play this solo on the tuba every single time? It was so fat and so full, and it was like, this is so much better than some fucking Larry-ass Trumpet 3 cranking out the fucking solo and hitting a wrong note on one of the things. Yeah, fracking the first note. And I remember it was so badass at the time. It probably, if I went and listened back to it, it was just it probably didn't sound as good as I remember it. But I remember at the time being positioned right behind it. I was like, holy shit.
Damn, boy.
Yeah, damn boy. And
this shit slaps. This boy's spitting.
And so I'm sure part of it was the adrenaline from the actual game, and misremembering it a little bit. But I remember that game was crazy, and it was crazy to be there. It was in St. Louis, so it wasn't like we were in a super memorable city or anything. But I just remember the trip. That trip was one of my favorite trips. I also remember during that trip I ran on a treadmill next to Greg Gard. And that was the season where Bo Ryan retired halfway through, and it was like, oh shit, what's going to become of Badger basketball? And then we won these games, and it was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And Greg Gard with the ultimate stupid-ass dad joke in the locker room after that game where they're all sitting down, and he just walks in and grabs a drink and sips it and said, "Ooh, that's sweet, sweet 16," and they all go bananas. And Jesus Christ, that's come on, that's the lamest fucking thing ever, man.
Good old Greg.
Speaking of Greg, so my favorite NCAA tournament memory. The next year, also in the round of 32, also in a city that's otherwise not memorable, in Buffalo, New York. This trip I was on, and first round beat Virginia Tech by 10, and I don't really remember much from that game, honestly. But so that was the 8-9 game, so we're playing 1 seed Villanova, who I believe was the number 1 overall team in the tournament that year. And that was a game walking into it where it was like, well, hey, we had a good season. We made the tournament. We won a game. I got to spend spring break in snowy Buffalo. That's it, right? We're going to be done. Au contraire, where I don't remember much from the game other than that last sequence where it's close. The game's tied, I believe, and they get the inbound. The ball gets they run ISO for Nigel Hayes on the baseline, and he pulls a Michael Jordan move with turns his whole body like he's gonna pass out of it, and then immediately goes back under and hits the reverse layup to take the lead, go up 2, and win the game and upset number 1 Villanova. So
man,
that was pretty sweet.
I remember following that game on a live stream in an airport because I was going to Florida to visit my sister. And I remember watching it on a phone. And I remember in the airport, it was crazy because I swear, I think it was coming out of Milwaukee, so it wasn't that insane. But I remember when it happened, over my live stream. Obviously, it must have been playing at somewhere in some airport bar. But I remember when we won the game, I heard a cheer, and it was oh my god, how, what? And yeah, it was insane to win that game, and disappointing to not win the next one.
Yeah, and that next game was such a roller coaster of emotions. That was in a much cooler location in New York City, playing at the Garden, and fuck, man, playing Florida in that game, they were down big in that second half and made a roaring comeback. And Zach Showalter hit this stupid ass floater three to tie the game to go into overtime. That's such an ugly, terrible shot that just happened to go in.
Yeah.
And it's like in midway through that second half, I'm like, man, we're down by, I don't know, must have been double digits or something. I'm just like, well, you know what? I'm kind of behind on my school stuff, being on the road here for 3 straight weeks with the Big Ten championship game, the first round, and now being in New York for the Sweet 16 here. So it's like, you know what? If this all ends, that's fine. I can go back and catch up on school stuff. So then they're rolling all the way back, and it's like, well, fuck. South Carolina has already beat Baylor in this region, so we're playing South Carolina. If we win this, well, shit, they're a 7 seed. They're not that good. We can beat them. Hey, we win this, we're going to the Final Four for sure. And then overtime happens, and we're up, and Nigel Hayes can't make his goddamn fucking free throws.
And I remember this.
Yeah. So then there's the last shot where they just run up the court. I don't know, there was probably 3 seconds left, and they just kind of let Florida get all the way up the floor. And I just saw a replay of this a couple days ago, and I was like, man, I thought the dude got to half court because we were on the far side. So Nigel Hayes was missing the free throws right in front of us, and then Florida was running the length of the floor away from us. I thought he got to half court, but no, he got all the way the fuck down to the 3-point line and hits a floater of his own at the buzzer.
I guess I haven't watched it recently. I thought it was a half court shot.
No, man, that shit was not that deep, which I don't know makes it worse, better. I don't know, but I don't think I had watched any replays of that game until a couple days ago, and I just happened to stumble across it. So that was such a roller coaster of emotions, of being very content with the season being over, to fuck it, let's go be legendary and go to the Final Four, to nope, you were right the first, you had it right the first time, you're done, thank you. So, but hey, that's better than the next. I'm glad that was my senior year, not the year following where they didn't make the tournament.
Yeah,
for the first time in 20 years.
That was kind of what I think with the 2016 season, more what people expected, just because with the Bo Ryan departure, there eventually had to be some kind of, I don't know, some effect there, just because it's going from one coach to the next, even though Greg Gard largely implements a lot of Bo Ryan's offensive scheme still. Wisconsin basketball is they still have the same identity that they did under Bo Ryan for the most part, but it felt like at some point there was going to be some sort of regression from the highs that we were having, because we were going to obviously the national championship under Bo Ryan during his peak tenure there. So it felt like we had to come back down to earth at some point. It just, with 2016 and then the 2017 season, it felt like both those seasons that it was, this is going to happen at some point. We're just going to shit the bed and we're going to be a bad team for a little bit. And that happened in 2017. So that was that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just sent you the link for that buzzer beater for the Florida game. What? Dude almost was inside the 3-point line.
All right. Chris Chiozza.
Oh, Nigel, cut him off!
Oh, that's right. He did get so close.
Let me watch this one more.
Well, he sort of gets picked by Bronson there. Or not Bronson, Dimitri Trice.
If he takes one more step, if he takes one more fucking step, that's a 2, and we're going to double overtime at least. Yeah, I thought the dude was on the logo.
I did too for some reason.
But
he's right there.
Just Dimitri, stay in front of him. I suppose he was watching the trailer, but
yeah, he got in the way. He got in the way big time. And so there's no way big lanky Nigel was getting out in front of him. Dietrich Trice probably should have just picked him up. But I don't know what you do in that situation. I mean, you have to make a decision in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I know exactly what you do. You just make your free throws, and then you're up by 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So,
Nigel. But
all right.
anyway.
Well, anyways, you got any more good ones?
I mean, I was kind of looking at. I have these football seasons pulled up. I don't really feel like I have a ton of. I mean, I remember watching the Final Four where we beat Kentucky in my house with you. You came over to like my parents' house. We watched them beat Kentucky.
Oh wait, was that the 38-1 game?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was in town for that. That must have been spring break.
I think that was them because I think I remember watching the one where we lost to Kentucky in the set. I definitely remember watching the one where we lost to Kentucky in the set because it was just like I was just yelling at Trayvon Jackson. It's Trayvon Jackson, this fucking dude.
Somehow he was the guy that got to take the last shot.
Why?
Not the other guys. Not the guys who are better.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was that game.
Yeah,
I thought that was that game.
I think you're right.
So, I'm looking at football here.
Well, football, there's the 3 bowl games they won, which were good. If I had to rank them, it'd be that Outback Bowl was pretty fun, where one beat Auburn in overtime.
That's actually what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that particular game, the one where they missed the overtime field goal attempt, and when it went off the upright in our corner, I remember distinctly. It was we all were in that end zone with the band, and so we could all hear the ball like clunk off the post, and it was like clunk, and a second later the entire R section erupted, and I just remember it was like crazy because on TV like you can see, I guess, more clearly the direction the ball is heading, so like that moment is maybe not as much of a surprise, but we were kind of at like an angle, so I couldn't see the trajectory really of the ball, and so it looked like it was flying straight and true, and then hit that upright, and all of us just went nuts because I think for me at least, like the 2 years prior, 2012 and 2013, we lost both those bowl games, so it was cool that being the first one that I was at, the first bowl game that we won while I was in college.
Yeah, that's really something. I mean, the only bowl game that they lost was my freshman year, and it made the whole trip seem a whole hell of a lot more worthwhile when you win the damn thing. So I can't imagine what it was like, for someone like you, or let alone people a couple years older than us. We had been through 3 losses.
3 at a big one.
3 consecutive bowl losses. So yeah, I mean, the win in the bowl game makes the whole trip just that much more fun. I mean, they're all fun no matter what, win, lose. But yeah, winning them puts a nice little bow on the whole thing. Makes it feel like this was not a complete exercise and not a complete just wasted time and resources.
Yeah, getting out of Wisconsin in the middle of the dead of winter is never a bad thing, and going to a place like Orlando, you could certainly be doing worse for yourself. So, yeah. I looking at some of these. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy to kind of. I don't think I have any super extraordinary memories from that USC game. I remember the Jack Stitchie went off and had 3 sacks and like
3 plays.
They were within like minutes of each other. It felt like
it was 3 consecutive plays.
Oh, there it is. They were within literal minutes of each other.
Yeah, then we were playing the USC fight song at USC.
That's what that was.
Then we got told to stop doing that. That was fun.
Yeah, and it was. We ended up kind of mocking the USC band because they just had this audacious I don't know. I don't even know the word I want to use to describe what their whole look was. It felt very Hollywood, and it was just I don't know. Like a lot of people had like a huge problem with it, but it was just like I don't know. This is almost what I expect from some like white California band. This like wearing their nice little uniforms and their little Ray-Bans, and it's like this is exactly what I think of when I think of Los Angeles. And so anyway, it
Yeah, like I didn't have
they
a problem with the whole thing. It was just like there was the one part during pregame when we were sitting in the stands for however long. I think.
That's right. They took forever to like process in. Ba, 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 ba.
They played that for dead ass for like 20 minutes straight. I was like, Jesus, come on, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, just play a fucking cadence like every other marching band does and process in. And yeah, so that I feel like I don't have a lot of great memories aside from that. Yeah, that sack celebration thing. I think I remember there being like a Rob Wheelwright crazy catch. Yeah, right. But aside from that, it was kind of just like it was one of those things where it felt like it was a good note to have Joel Stave go out on because a ton of people just fucking hated this dude. And to be fair, he was competing for the job with Tanner McAvoy at one point, so it's not like he was excellent at his job, but it really felt like people got on this hate train for Joel Stave and never really quite got off for a number of years. And so really for like since like it felt like so he really was like starting his time like my freshman year, and then he was done my senior year. And so my entire college career it was like the Joel Stave experience. And so yeah, it's sprinkled with a little bit of Tanner McAvoy and Kurt Phillips in there. And so, like, that was just kind of like a crazy thing, but it was kind of nice with that game to have him win against USC, like a storied program. Not that USC was, like, very good that year, because they weren't, but it was cool to see him go up against a team like that and to pull out a win for the last one.
Yeah, beating a blue-chip program.
Yeah.
Real blue blood of the college football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think any other games are really all that noteworthy. All the regular season games kind of all blend together. You mentioned a little earlier the Melvin Gordon 408 game where he broke the single game rushing record and held that record for a whole week.
Yeah, it was broken like the next week by Donnell Pumphrey.
No, it was Samaje Perine.
Never mind, it was Samaje Perine.
But that game, yeah, it was snowing, and it was Nebraska, and yeah, that was a cool one. Yeah, and then the next year, that Nebraska game again, winning in overtime. Overtime's kind of fun when you win that game, but yeah, I don't know. The other game that really stands out, and it's not even a great one, would be the my last bowl game, the Cotton Bowl. Really, only because it was, it's a New Year's Six bowl, which is noteworthy. But
yeah,
I don't know. It was just a game where we're playing Western Michigan, a game you should win, and they just kind of kept them at arm's length the whole game and won. One
did it
without too much drama. I mean, it was close at the end, but then they get the ball back and ice the game, and that's that. Get fucked, PJ Fleck.
On to Minnesota. It's good to stick it to him this past regular season. A lot of people had Minnesota winning.
Yeah, it's nice to get the old lax back.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I really feel like looking through some of these games, it feels like when you tell some of your own memories, I remember certain things, and looking at some of these games just on a list, I sort of remember bits and pieces of them. But I'll tell one last one. This will be my last one. This is a positive one. So I remember I took the LSAT for the first time, and I did really bad on it. And I remember coming out of that game or out of the testing center, and it was against Michigan State. And so this is the 2016 regular season. We were playing at Michigan State. And so I remember I took the test with Nash. And so we both walked to the test and took the test together. And then after the test was done, we were like, Jesus Christ. Well, that was something. Well, Badgers are probably getting their asses kicked. And so going into the test, you cannot bring your phone into the testing center at all. Like, you have to leave it at your house. It can't be anywhere. So we had no idea what the score was, but the game started at like 11. So we're like, Badgers are probably getting their asses kicked. And so we walked over to Union South to see what the score of the game was, and we were like destroying Michigan State. And so I remember that was a bit of a time warp, because it was like, it was like, oh my goodness, like, this is unexpected.
Yeah, it's the game where Leo Musso had that like pick six or fumble return for touchdown. I remember that one.
Yeah.
I'm just looking back here, and this is way back my freshman year in 2013. Like, man, I don't really remember much from the Tennessee Tech game, week 2. I remember
the UMass game because it was the Minutemen.
I remember exactly because I was wearing shorts and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. My first game. Hey, grab the apples. Where? What? Why? How does this work? What do we do? What do you want from me? How do you learn all this stuff? Yeah, I don't remember like any of these games. I vaguely remember the Illinois game because that was a road trip we went to.
Oh yeah.
Night game, very late.
I don't remember this BYU game.
Nope, don't remember the Indiana game at all. Penn State game, remember I wasn't at. We weren't at. We were both at Colts camp. I was like, oh fuck, we lost. Damn it.
I remember that.
Huh.
Gary Anderson tenure.
Where is he now? Is he at Oregon State still? Or is he at Utah State?
I think he's at Utah State. Yeah,
West
he's
Coast
at Utah
guy.
State. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
D coordinator Dave Aranda.
Jared
head coach of
Abradaris.
Baylor.
What a guy. Well, anyway. Yeah, so
Sports,
I think
baby.
that's good to take a little trip down memory lane. Northern Iowa. Oh, that's right. Sometimes I remember some of these games when I'm looking at these lists just from like old charts that I would like dig up from like my bed or something when I was cleaning out apartments or like the house or whatever. It's like, oh, there's this chart from this fucking game, and it's against like some non-conference team. Yeah, like Northern Iowa. Like, oh yeah, that whole thing, that team. Or UTEP. I remembered University of Texas El Paso when we drafted Aaron Jones for the Packers a couple years ago. Remember, it resonated with me because I remember when I was like, I didn't even know the fucking minors or whatever they are. When I was like, when we played that game, it's like I didn't even know the University of Texas El Paso was a place, and we played them, and it was like, oh, okay.
Oh, Aaron Jones. Jesus.
Yeah.
So this Badger team in 2012 lost to Oregon State.
Yeah, they were not good.
Oregon State.
So much to your credence about the remarks you were making before, where they were not favored to win against Nebraska in the Big Ten championship. This was not a very good team.
Okay, well hold on. Oregon State went 9-4 that year, so they were finished the season ranked. So they weren't okay. They're not bad, but still. I mean, I guess none of these losses are terrible. So Oregon State was a ranked team at the end of the year. Lost to Nebraska, who went 10-4. That's pretty good. Lost to Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, and Stanford. I don't know. Well, those are terrible losses, I guess.
Yeah.
But
still, the ones we won, it was like we won against Utah State, University of Texas, El Paso, Illinois, Purdue, Minnesota, Indiana in the regular season. Northern Iowa up there.
So all I have to say, there was a very average team, middle of the pack.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to put it. They weren't terrible. I don't think Wisconsin is generally like a terrible by like if you're using that phrase to just talk about Division I football. It's like they're never probably going to be like an absolutely terrible team because it's just Power 5. You know, they have somewhat of a reputation as a program, I think, to like keep them afloat. So, you know, knock on wood, they never sink to the depths of like some of these programs that are just perpetually trying to shoot their shot at a chance to have a winning record or like an even record. Like when Purdue a couple years ago, they kind of like felt like they had some life when they beat Ohio State. It was like, oh my God, it's Purdue. What is going to happen?
Oh, they went 7-5. Look out.
Yeah, and then I think they shit the bed at the end of the year. Anyway.
Oh, fuck, man. I forgot. So 2012, your freshman year. That was the year after Russell Wilson, and I forgot about. Do you remember Danny O'Brien?
Yes.
He was the next. He was supposed to be Russell Wilson too, another transfer. He was coming in from Maryland, and I don't know what happened, but
he wasn't Russell Wilson.
No, he definitely wasn't. And Kirk Phillips and Bart Houston were playing a bunch.
Bart Houston, that was the other person.
No, Bart Houston. No, he played my senior year. He was a freshman in 2012.
But he was a quarterback that was like, this guy's a guy, man.
He's on the team.
Yeah.
John Budmeyer.
Yikes.
Man, Jeff Duckworth, Reggie Love.
Well,
yeah.
In any case, yeah, so I think that'll wrap that up. I don't know.
That'll
some of this stuff.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
This running back room, just 1 second. Indulge me here. 2012, you had James White, Melvin Gordon, Monte Ball, and Derek Watt.
Pretty good.
Man, that's really something.
Yeah. A lot of dudes there that yeah, we had a lot of good running backs all in the last couple of years here.
Just keep coming. Just keep coming.
Just keep coming. Jonathan Taylor hopefully going to do great things in the NFL.
Wait, holy shit, this isn't right.
What?
I'm on Wikipedia right now looking at the roster. I'm like, defensive backs. Like, why is everybody's name fucking Tyler? Tyler Wright, Tyler Hillary, Michael Caputo, Tyler Smith, Tyler Southward, Tyler Cromartie, Tyler Hammond Jr. That's not right.
I'm looking at this too on Wikipedia. Tyler Trotter, Tyler Calden, Tyler Floyd, Tyler Mitchell,
Tyler Ogunbowale, Tyler Etienne,
Tyler Ogunbowale.
Tyler Trotter, Tyler
That's
Calden,
definitely
Tyler
not.
Floyd, Tyler Mitchell.
It's definitely not the dude. I think it's definitely Dare Ogunbowale.
Was it deep come in as a DB?
I don't feel like there is another Ogunbowale on the fucking team.
Maybe not. Okay, linebackers, the same thing. Tyler Neal, Tyler Fenton, Tyler Landish, Tyler Pepperott, Tyler Armstrong, Chris Borland. Didn't change that one. Didn't change Vince Beagle. Defensive line, Tyler Gilbert, Tyler Hayes, Tyler Herring, Tyler Dipple.
I love that defensive back. Michael Caputo.
It's the only guy who's not named is Tyler.
Oh, man. He's currently the safeties coach.
Wait, okay. Speaking of which, last thing, I since LeVar Ball kind of was in the news here, and then with also LaMelo buying that team in Australia, I just did a little. I've forgotten about that developmental league he started as a NCAA alternative. Do you know what the team names for the 8-team Big Baller League were?
No.
Well, there was the team from Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Ballers, kind of on the nose. But wait, there was also a team in Seattle named the Seattle Ballers. Team in Chicago, the Chicago Ballers. New York Ballers, Atlanta Ballers, Dallas Ballers. Every team name was named the Ballers. I love it.
Everybody is the Ballers. Everybody's a baller.
Yep, you play in this league, you're a baller. Name on the front of the jersey, not the back.
That's funny. Oh, man.
All right, we're pushing an hour and a half. I think that's enough.
Yeah, I think that's enough, too. So,
we'll trip down memory lane. We'll get into the draft stuff in the next couple weeks here, and if anything else happens, which probably nothing will, we'll break it down and do some analysis.
That's right. Try to do some analysis. So, anyway, we'll catch everybody next time. Follow us. Maybe we'll put up some train sim videos. Give you guys some content. We'll see. But follow, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.